Welcome, everyone. Let's dive into some pretty fascinating research. How eating fewer calories might actually slow down aging.
Yeah, that's such an intriguing idea. So basically, they found that a calorie-restricted diet can really tamp down the aging process?
Right, exactly. In this study, healthy adults were put on, well, a calorie restricted plan for 2 years. They aimed for a 25% cut, which for a 2,000 calorie diet means about 500 calories less each day, but ended up with roughly a 12% reduction on average.
Interesting, so even a smaller reduction than planned made a noticeable impact.
Yep, yep, that's the kicker. Even that 12% drop translated into a slowing of the biological aging, roughly by 2% to 3%. It's like turning down the speedometer on your body's aging process.
Wow, so that could potentially mean a significant drop in the risk of dying early, right?
Exactly. Yes, indeed. The study estimated this slowdown correlates to about a 10% to 15% reduction in early death risk, which is pretty substantial when you think about it.
That definitely sounds promising, but I'm wondering, how did they actually measure this slowdown in aging?
So, they used an algorithm based on DNA biomarkers from blood samples. Basically, it's like a biological speedometer, tracking changes in things like heart, liver, kidney, and lung function to gauge how fast someone's aging. The idea is that these markers reflect organ performance over time.
So they essentially had a long-term data set to compare these biomarker changes to?
Right on. Yeah, they used data from around 1,000 people who were followed over 20 years. That baseline helped them understand the typical aging trajectory.
Fascinating. And were these participants all in pretty good shape? I mean, what was their BMI range or something?
Precisely. Yes, they picked individuals with a BMI between 22 and 27. So, not exactly the super athletic type, but neither were they in the overweight or obese bracket. They're representative of healthy adults.
Right, that makes sense. Did the study mention any changes in lifestyle other than calorie cutting, like exercise or any sort of behavioral adjustments?
It did actually. For the calorie restricted group, they not only controlled portions, but also got behavioral counseling for about the first 24 weeks. They even had prepared meals for the first month to help them adjust to smaller portions.
So they really supported the participants through the transition period. But what about the control group?
Exactly. The control group, well, they kept their usual diets with no imposed restrictions or nutritional counseling. That stark contrast between intervention and control is what allowed the researchers to see these effects.
And I'm guessing this wasn't just a correlation study, but a proper randomized controlled trial.
You got it. Yes, absolutely, and it was actually the first randomized controlled trial to assess the long-term impact of calorie restriction on aging and healthy adults. That really sets it apart from previous observational research.
Now here's what I'm curious about. Did they figure out why cutting calories has that impact on aging at all?
They did sort of right. The hypothesis is that calorie restriction might kickstart some survival response mechanisms within our cells. It essentially signals the body to, as you might say, clean up intracellular trash, those damaged cells and proteins, to promote better cellular function.
That's like telling your cellular machinery, hey, pay attention, use your resources more efficiently.
Exactly. Exactly. It's almost like your body is on an energy-saving mode, similar to a computer going into a power-saving state when the battery is low.
Ha ha ha, that's a good analogy. But hold on, does this mean we should all start cutting our calories drastically?
Well, well, not exactly. Experts emphasize that such a restriction should be modest. Pankaj Kapahi, a researcher in aging, pointed out that calorie restriction, together with exercise and balanced nutrition, is key. Overdoing it could lead to issues like malnutrition.
So if someone's not careful, they could end up sacrificing muscle strength, a faster metabolism, and even their immune system.
Precisely. Exactly. Walter Longo, a well-known biochemist, warned that while there might be strong anti-aging benefits, prolonged and severe calorie restriction might lead to frailty. It's a trade-off that needs to be managed.
That makes total sense. So really, calorie restriction has to be done in a balanced, controlled manner rather than extreme dieting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a bit like tuning a fine instrument. Too much tightening and you break the string.
Mm-hmm. And it's important to note that these changes were observed over just 2 years. What do we know about the long-term implications beyond that period?
Good point indeed. Right, the study only followed the intervention period for 2 years. They're planning another study to track these effects over a 10-year period. So, we need longer-term data to really understand if the benefits persist.
So, we're talking about potential lifelong changes, but with some uncertainty about lasting effects.
Quite true. Yes, that's exactly it. There's still a question about whether the deceleration in biological aging has a sustained impact beyond the trial period. For now, the initial results are promising, hinting that lifestyle interventions can indeed alter aging trajectories.
Mm-hmm. And it's really empowering when you think about it. The idea that our everyday choices have such profound effects on our biology.
Right, right. It reinforces the principle that we all have some control over how we age. Making the right choices, like a slight calorie cut and regular exercise, could indeed contribute to a longer, healthier life.
Of course, but one must be cautious, right? Because this isn't a universal fix. Not everyone can safely or effectively reduce their calorie intake.
True, exactly. There's a big disclaimer here. For instance, individuals with underlying health conditions or those who are already frail need to approach this very carefully. Consultation with a doctor is a must before starting any calorie-restricted regimen.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we wouldn't want people to inadvertently harm themselves by following these findings without proper guidance.
Definitely. Right. It's all about balance. The takeaway is that a mild reduction in calories can, in a controlled environment, have an anti-aging effect. But it's not a one-size-fits-all solution.
And that's the beauty and challenge of nutritional research. Everything is so interconnected. You've got calorie count, physical activity, genetics, and even psychological factors all playing their parts.
Absolutely. Yup, it's like a big complex orchestra. Each instrument matters to create a harmonious output, and if one plays too loudly or too softly, the whole symphony can suffer.
That's a neat way to put it, and it really makes you wonder how many other factors are at play when it comes to aging and overall health.
Exactly. Exactly. There's ongoing research into molecular pathways, exercise impacts, and balanced diets, highlighting that while calorie restriction shows promise, it's just one piece of the puzzle.
I totally agree. It opens up lots of fascinating questions about our biology and how lifestyle changes can tweak the natural process of aging.
Absolutely. And let's not forget the importance of behavioral counseling in this study. It seems that guiding people through lifestyle changes is as crucial as the dietary adjustments themselves.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point. The human element, the support and the structure, makes all the difference between theoretical benefits and real-life outcomes.
Precisely. Precisely. We need these multi-pronged approaches to really empower individuals to live healthier, longer lives. And, this study reinforces that idea by showing solid evidence, even if it's just a start.
Well, this has been quite an eye-opener, from calorie counts to cellular speedometers. I'm definitely taking away some new perspective on how nuanced aging really is.
Absolutely. Definitely. This research not only gives us hope, but also a framework for examining lifestyle changes in a scientific, measured way. And remember, mild changes can sometimes pack the biggest punch.
Mm-hmm. It's all very encouraging. And for anyone listening, it's a reminder that sometimes it's the little tweaks that can lead to big long-term benefits.
Yep, that's the bottom line. Thanks for the engaging chat. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and take good care of yourselves.